Thank you so much. So I joined the plenary, and my perspective is really around how do you provide the de-risking for investments that are coming from the private sector. Because obviously, as we all know, for the just energy transition, we need significant financing, where the government is definitely doing its best and trying to attract all possible investments. But if we can also attract the private sector, and right now the biggest barrier that they have is around the high risk which is involved. So I made a case where philanthropic organizations such as ours, the Rockefeller Foundation, we are trying to really see how we can provide high-risk capital, because that's how we use our resources, to really have a proof of concept to drive impact so that the private sector can then come in and really expand the work that is really the need of the hour.
Okay, so we have seen that the impact of climate change is such as a severe heat wave, drought, and flooding. How do you see the private sector, maybe that you have mentioned before, maybe take a place there in the tackle with those problems?
Climate is an issue which is affecting all of us, right? And I think what we are really trying to do is to really look at climate more broadly, because all of us have been looking at climate in a very vertical manner. So we're looking at the impact of climate on our food system, climate and the energy sector, climate and the health systems. So what is really needed is to really look at the intersectionality of how climate is impacting just everything. Starting from the livelihood of a farmer. At this stage, we can't be talking about climate issues to a poor farmer, because what he cares about is getting income to his family, right? If we can find measures that are going to improve his livelihoods, but at the same time are also environment friendly, then he will be willing to listen to us. Otherwise, that won't be the case. So how do we really work together with the private sector so their investments can really bring about resources flowing into addressing the root causes of climate, as opposed to just addressing the symptoms of climate?
Okay, so if you can talk a little bit about to us about the impact on the farming and the well-being of the people because of this climate change, as you are the philanthropy from the private sector.
So, we are seeing that, recently, in the case of India, we've had the heat wave, right? 52 degrees centigrade temperature. So the crops have been destroyed, right? So the farmers really need to have the intelligence so that they're able to see what is really going to be happening when it comes to the kind of crops that they're going to be planting with these kind of weather variations, what will really survive and thrive. So I think for all of us, data and technology can really provide an opportunity for us. And this is what the private sector does very well. If you look at how they're using artificial intelligence, how they use data sets to make decisions, how can we use that same skill sets for a farmer so that he or she is able to really understand what are the kind of climate issues that they need to be aware of? If there's going to be flooding, there's going to be drought, or there's going to be a heat wave, then what are the crops that are going to stand the test for these weather conditions? So I think those are the areas where we feel that the private sector can really bring a lot of their knowledge and expertise, which will help farmers.
Okay, so if you can maybe share to us about your opinion, the flood and everything in Pakistan or in India recently is so bad, we can say. Do you think this maybe the solution is too late or not in this matter?
So, obviously, we are late. We're definitely late. But I would say let's not now worry about being late. The moment to act is even now. We can't afford to waste any more time. So I think we really need to be looking at how the entire ecosystem can come together. The private sector, the government, the think tanks, the civil society actors, and most importantly, the people who are being affected the most. For me, women are front and center. So when you're looking at climate issues, where are the women? Where are the young girls? How are we kind of really making sure that their voices are being heard? How we are building our programs so that they can really understand how climate is affecting them? Because I do feel there's a lot of lack of knowledge, because, it seems like when you go into a village, it seems like it's not a real issue. It's an issue in the cities where there's air pollution, etc. But, we also know that, right now, in the farming, the cropping patterns, the fertilizers that we're using, the burning of crops, and all the carbon emissions. So how do you really educate and help the farmers to understand the issues, and we really make sure that we start where they are in their journey, and the moment to act is really now. So I would say we really need to be doing things soon.
Okay, so the last question is about how do you see the commitment or the from the G20 member countries, especially to tackle or to do with this with the climate change so far?
Yeah, I think I really want to congratulate the government of Indonesia. You know, in the G20 presidency, the government of Indonesia is really, really pushing for the whole decarbonization agenda. You know, whether it's the just energy transitions, where, you know, the government is really looking at how do you look at the coal plants, you know, how do you decommission the coal plants? How do you look at renewable energy? So the government, the presidency of G20 is really putting its might behind really addressing these issues. And I think, you know, by virtue of the Indonesian government doing that, one is seeing that, you know, these issues are definitely, you know, bubbling up. And I'm really hoping that at the Leaders Summit, this will be really of high priority and something that we can hold our G20 leaders accountable for. But really want to congratulate the presidency of Indonesia, which is not just telling others what needs to be done, but most importantly, taking action within Indonesia as to what the government can do to be looking at energy transition mechanisms, to look at just energy and equitable transitions to be happening. So kudos to the Indonesian government.